Anybody catch the end of the Suns game against the Knicks? It was a beauty.
I missed it.
I think we're allowed to talk about sports. I'm a huge sports fan, so I think that's safe. And if you're not a Phoenix Suns fan, then you know what? Put it in the public complaints.
I take it the Suns won in a close game.
They did. Yeah, they won by 6, and Chris Paul just, really kind of owned the last minute and a half.
Yeah.
Chris Paul's been doing really. He's been pretty amazing. I mean, it's incredible to watch the Suns. I used to be a big Suns fan. I don't watch much, but they make you want to watch now because they're good.
I've been a diehard fan for decades. I mean, literally, like camping out on the street to get tickets. And, it's so for, us fans who've been waiting a lot of years for them to become relevant again, it's been a lot of fun.
Well, to show how long ago, we used to have tickets on Madhouse at McDowell. We had tickets. Then they moved over to the new stadium. We kept our tickets for a while, and then eventually we said we just didn't have the time to go to as many games. But so it's fun to watch them now. My son is a total fan. He and his friends travel to different places to go watch them. They actually make trips to go to games in different cities. So.
And now his mom's going to make lots of trips and visit different cities, but just for a different reason.
Not for the Suns so much.
All right. Are we getting close to having our full team on board?
I grew up a big basketball fan. My dad was a basketball star in the 1920s for the University of Cincinnati. And we always had season tickets for the Bearcats way back then growing up. So I've translated it to the Arizona Wildcats, but not quite to the Suns.
Well, there's controversy. Now there's all this new. Interesting to see their next. They're always a good team, though.
Yeah.
Jessica, are you the phone number and sorry.
Go ahead. We can stop talking basketball. We can get to business now.
Yes, ma'am. This is me. I'm on the phone number.
Perfect. Just making sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think we're waiting for Commissioner Vice Chair Watchman. Give a couple minutes. Yasmin or Brian, do you want to text Vice Chair Watchman and just make sure he's not having technology problems?
Yes, I can go ahead and do that.
I'd appreciate that. Thank you. I know how frustrating it is when you're, trying to dial in and technology's not working. It happened to me last week. It wasn't my fault, it was the city's fault, but the technology is a wonderful thing, but it's when it doesn't work, it's frustrating. I'm going to suggest that we give it to 9:05, and then at that point, as usual, our first items are a little bit more just business. That's not one. Yeah.
And I haven't heard back on my end.
Okay. Just an announcement to the public, because I know everybody's, dialed in and wanting to know what's going on. We're waiting to see if Vice Chair Watchman is, going to dial in. There may be some technology problems. We're trying to reach him. If we don't connect, we'll call the meeting to order and hope that he joins us soon. So it is 9:05. Fellow commissioners, up, there we go, right at the bell. Vice Chair Watchman, are you tapped in? Okay, I see you. We wait to hear you. I am going to call this meeting to order. Agenda item 1A, call for quorum. It is 9:05 a.m. on Tuesday, April 27th, 2021. I call this meeting of the Independent Redistricting Commission to order. For the record, the administrative assistant will be taking roll. When your name is called, please indicate you are present. If you're unable to respond verbally, we ask that you please type your name. Yasmin, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Vice Chair Watchman. I see him, but I'm not sure.
He's having technology problems. Yeah, there's a way. Vice Chair Watchman, if you can hear us, if there's a way you could text us or in writing some way, let us know that you're processing this.
Commissioner Lerner.
Here.
Commissioner York.
Here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Commissioner Meal.
Present.
Chair Newberg.
Present.
And for the record, we also have Brian Schmidt, Executive Director to the Independent Redistricting Commission. We have Brett Johnson, Eric Spencer from Snell and Wilmer, Roy Herrera, Dennis Burke, Daniel Arellano from Ballard Spar, legal counsel for the IRC. And from ADOA, we have Michael Hillebrand, Nicole Sorensen, Jessica Klein from ADOA, and we have Angela Miller, who will be transcribing for us today. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Good morning.
Thank you. And Angela, did you get the present from Vice Chair Watchman for the transcript?
I did. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. With that, please note that a quorum is present. Agenda item 1B, call for notice. Yasmin, was the notice and agenda for the commission meeting properly posted 48 hours in advance of today's meeting?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Agenda item 2, approval of minutes from April 20th, 2021. Item A and B, the general session and executive session minutes. As a reminder, video recording fulfills statutory requirements. Is there any discussion regarding the public and executive session recordings / minutes from last week. If there's no discussion, I'll entertain a motion to approve the general session and executive session minutes from April 20th, 2021.
Commissioner Meal,
Commissioner Lerner, so moved.
I move that we approve the minutes.
Commissioner
Okay,
Lerner, second.
Okay, Commissioner Meal puts forward the motion. Commissioner Lerner seconds it. Any further discussion? A vote, Vice Chair Watchman. You know what, you want to do a thumbs up or some, I can't hear you.
Vice Chair Watson.
Okay, I'll come back to him, and we'll come back to him. Commissioner Meal.
Aye.
Commissioner Lerner.
Aye.
Commissioner York.
Aye.
Commissioner Newberg is an aye. Commissioner Watchman, you are the last vote for our minutes. Are you able to give us any indication of your vote, aye or nay? Thumbs up, thumbs down? We're having problems. I'll ask the council here, given that 4 out of the 5 have approved. Is it something? Oh. Yeah, any guidance here about waiting for official votes versus just going on the record with a 4-0 vote in approval? Commissioner Watchman, can you, is there? No. Okay.
Madam Chairwoman, it's our view at a 4-0 vote that it is approved. You do not need to, wait for the 5th vote.
Okay, for the record, let's note that the minutes are approved with a 4-0 vote, with Vice Chair Watchman having technological challenges. With that, we will move on.
Can you hear me? Good morning.
Okay.
Good
Now
morning.
we
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah?
Yes. We
Okay.
just approved the minutes
For
without
some
you.
reason, my computer's acting all wacky today.
Yeah, we are now on agenda item number 3, and I am so glad that you are live. Agenda item number 3, opportunity for public comments. Public comment will open for a minimum of 30 minutes and remain open until the adjournment of the meeting. Comments will only be accepted electronically in writing on the link provided in the notice and agenda for this public meeting, and will be limited to 3,000 characters. Please note, members of the commission may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38-431.018, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date. With that, we will move on to agenda item number 4, which is discussion on public comments received prior to today's meeting. Fellow commissioners, reactions, thoughts, comments?
This is Commissioner Meal. We continue to get very robust comments from the public, which I appreciate greatly. I read each and every one of them, as I know all of us are, and I think it is very helpful to have comments from the public, and I want to thank the public for their participation.
This is Commissioner New York. I echo Commissioner Meal's comment.
And this is Commissioner Lerner. I also echo those comments, and I just want to encourage the public to continue to submit comments. There's great feedback, and there's often good suggestions of things that we can potentially do in the future as well. And there are also, comments that can be quite insightful that we've been seeing. So I just want to say, I also been reading all of them, and we all appreciate the amount of time that the public is putting in to participating in the process.
You know, we live in a robust democracy, and Arizona has a lot of independent, strong-minded people, and we're hearing from the community. You know, as we alluded to, I think several weeks ago, when you have such a unique niche of something like mapping that only happens once every 10 years, you're not going to get a lot of options with true experts. And given the realities, we got, you know, 3 firms, which was more than a decade ago. There's no perfect, just like there's no perfect commissioner, there's no perfect mapping firm either. Thank you for this robust discussion. And all we could say is we're doing our due diligence. We're reading all of them. We're studying everything. What gives me comfort, and you know, you'll see, I think, through the rest of the meeting, we're building, you know, really, I think, a sound, competent team that in and of itself is going to provide checks and balances and will mitigate concerns that we collectively have. We'll flesh that out as a team. But we hear you, and you know, let's try to also just have a little bit of trust and open-mindedness. And with that, that's really all I have to say about the public comments.
This is Commissioner Meal. I would like to add that I'm disappointed that we were not able to do the interviews of the 3 firms in public, because the 3 firms really interviewed quite well. They answered questions very well. The interviews were very detailed, and as a commission, we learned a lot from doing the interviews. And I'm sorry the public was not able to observe that.
And in addition, that it, you know, the way our state does it, and there's value to it. I mean, there's a, you know, a responsibility to protect the integrity of the procurement process, and you know, you have to follow the letter of the law. But you're right. I mean, other states do it differently, and I regret our public can't read the proposals. All, you know, each one that's, you know, 100+ pages of sophisticated information. I would love that, but there's a reason why it's not available. And again, I mean, we can provide expert witness to, you know, our procurement experts here. The way we do it protects our state. It protects the competitiveness of the process. But I agree with you. The public maybe wouldn't be as concerned if they could have access to the information we have. Okay, with that, if there's no further discussion, we will move on to agenda item number 5, discussion and possible action on legal counsel briefing. I'd like to welcome again, this actually is our first meeting where we have our full council together. And with that, there are some things that we collectively really need to talk about, hear from our council about, and begin to think about some decisions. There are 4 areas in particular that council would like to brief us on. They relate to just some initial research that they're doing and wanting direction about, you know, the appropriateness of that. They want to discuss their ideas for policies, procedures, and training, IT issues, and the potential for hiring expert consultants and witnesses. I'm going to suggest that the commission vote to go into executive session, which will not be open to the public, for the purpose of obtaining this type of legal advice to further implement and or advance these legal issues pursuant to ARS 38.431.03A3. This is our first opportunity to really, as a team, get legal advice. I think for, protecting attorney-client privilege, we'll have the most useful conversation. Any discussion?
This is Commissioner Lerner. I'm not clear on why we need to go into executive session. I'm sorry if I'm misunderstanding. I thought they were just maybe going to give us an overview. Are they giving us some additional advice that needs to be?
I think that for us to be able to initially flesh out where, the needs are, I think as all complex legal challenges, having the opportunity to discuss with your attorney in private allows for a more thorough basis. No, I'm not sure the other, I've had the pleasure now of a few calls with the attorneys. I don't know if the other commissioners have had the pleasure yet of asking tough, hard questions. And so I think, and I'd like to turn it over to, Roy and Brett. A commissioner's asking a question validly. What is your recommendation and why?
Our recommendation is to go into executive session because the discussion may include legal advice, and we want to have, a robust discussion about that, especially now, given it's a first opportunity that both lead counsels are here to give some information to the commission and things that the commission could consider. Obviously, later on, the commission will receive some training on open meeting laws, but for purposes of this agenda item, the discussion may include legal advice, and that's why executive session would be advisable.
Okay.
And as usual, there's no action that's taken in executive session, and there will be a detailed, thorough accounting and report of what was done without violating, obviously, the confidentiality of what transpires.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I move that, this is Commissioner York, I move that we go into executive session for further legal discussion.
Is there a second?
Vice Chair Watchman seconds the motion.
Any further discussion? Okay, Vice Chair Watchman,
Aye.
Commissioner Meal,
Aye.
Commissioner Lerner,
Aye.
Commissioner York.
Aye.
Commissioner Newberg is an aye, and with that, we are going to move into executive session in order to obtain legal advice to further implement and advance the legal issues that I identified. I do not have an estimate of the amount of time. I apologize. It depends on our attorneys and how talkative they are. All right. Please exit this link. Oh, we need I always forget to do this. We need a motion to go into, oh, Commissioner Lerner left. It's my fault. We need a motion to go into executive session.
Didn't we just?
We just did that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. We will see you in executive session. Thank you. Bye. Welcome back, partners and public. I'm not sure Commissioner Vice Chair Watchman is here. Are we fully staffed and ready to go? I do see our counsel. Okay, is everybody on board? I believe I see our team. Okay, with that, thank you for everybody's patience with our executive session. As we discussed earlier, that attorney advice is really essential to help us make the kinds of decisions to protect, our broader project. We discussed a few things in particular, and of course, no action was taken. We discussed the value of looking into hiring expert witnesses and the need to do that promptly, given that unique specialties are in high demand, and we want to lock them in. Things like potentially experts in the Voting Rights Acts, statisticians, historians. We also discussed the importance of us to not only learn more about the state guidelines, but for us to collectively, agree on policies as it relates to open meetings and all of that. We discussed the importance of respecting our IT needs as it relates to hiring staff, and maybe most importantly, with unfortunately the likelihood of litigation, making sure that we protect ourselves such that we can provide the information that's being asked of us in a timely manner so that our maps are not delayed. And as it relates to the expert witnesses, to protect ourselves to defend whatever kinds of complaints that might happen. So with that, I thought it was excellent, an excellent opportunity to learn. Given that there's no action related to that item, we are going to move on to agenda item number 6, which is the executive director's report and discussion thereof. And I will note there is a chance we will go into executive session. If we choose to do so, which would be in regard to discuss budgeting issues, we will do so. And I will explain that rationale then. With that, Brian, please, you're on.
Chairwoman England. Yasmin, would you mind putting the presentation up, please? So I have a quick update that I'll start off with on the office front. Our current space is highlighted down there in the blue. We have to move sometime this summer, either June 1st or middle of August. Still working through that. The potential new space that ADOA identified for us is in green above. It's about the same footage, but a little cheaper. The green office part on the top is where the main offices and cubicles would be. And then the other rectangle one, a little further down, would be a conference room and storage area. We're still working out logistics and making sure we'd all fit in there and that it works. So should have more updates, future meetings on that. Next, please, Yasmin. All right. So our current budget, like we spoke about before, is $500,000. And the fiscal year ends at the end of June. The last commission went through their $500,000 the first year. Between investing in technology, attorneys, and starting public meetings, they did not have a problem going through that money. So what I did want to discuss was making sure that before we run out of time, I've been talking to IT about getting the offices set up and computers and ordering them. It is towards the end of the year, and other departments and agencies are also looking to purchase new equipment before the end of the fiscal year. So I want to make sure we get our offices outfitted with technology by the end of the year, and also technology that we can use on the road for budget hearings. For next year's budget, I've been in contact with the governor's team. They are open to our proposal. They're advocating for it. It's in the $6 to $8 million range. It's all very fluid. We're in a holding pattern right now. One of the things that I very about was making the funds non-lapsing so that we can continue to use them even if we don't go through them. And they were very open to that. The other item for next year's budget was the number of full-time equivalent positions. They had 3, and I asked for at least 5 or 6. This year we only have 3, so if we do make hires outside of the PIO, we will have to petition to get those positions, which is not a process from my understanding. But that's where I'm at with the budget right now, and if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Brian, this may bleed into the next agenda item, and so it's really your choice, but you talked about the number of hires that you feel the commission needs.
Sure.
Do you want to discuss that now, or would you prefer to discuss that in the next agenda item? I think, okay.
Oh, we can touch on it here and then discuss it in more detail next. The previous commission, 5 full-time employees, and then 4 or 5 part-time community outreach folks to help with the public hearings. Some days they did multiple in different cities, so they needed help setting up and reaching out to different groups. I thought potential for us could be bringing a outreach person on full-time that can work in coordination with the PIO. And so that's how I got to the 5 or 6.
Thank you, please.
So the new executive assistant starts next week, and so hopefully in the future, we're going to have written meetings for you, written minutes for you all, and then start to provide daily news clips if the commission's mentioned, or if there's any pertinent article, getting them to you guys so you can review them and see what people are saying out there. Website, hoping to add an educational component shortly. I want to start adding more of the documents to the meeting agenda, just so that the public can also have some background on what we're discussing. We also, I think we're going to talk in a later agenda item about having a section where we can put the open meeting law complaints so the public can go on there and see them. And then just an updated contact form, but also if the public has any additional requests or things they'd like to see on the website, you can go to our contact us and we'll definitely look into it. And then just a last quick couple items. The board and commissioners training is something the commissioners will have to do. I will send out the link to that, and if you all could just let me know when it's completed, I'd appreciate that. And then I have your phones, so I will get them delivered as soon as possible. That's all I have for now.
Questions of our director?
Maybe I didn't see at what point are we going to talk about org chart? The organizational chart?
In the hiring item that's next.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
If they bleed into each other,
They do.
it's one goes into the other.
Brian, thank you for your report. I just have a question: is once you have staff and are able to do this, if we could have a better way to start receiving the public input, that would be helpful. But I know you need to get your staff on board first. But if that can be something that you can work with them on, that would be appreciated.
Definitely, that will be a priority.
Okay, thank you. And with that, I think it just naturally blends right into agenda item number 7, discussion and possible action on public information officer and other potential hires and duties of all IRC staff positions. I again want to alert the public we may need to go into executive session for the purpose of obtaining legal advice to staffing issues. I will further clarify that rationale and the codes if we choose to do so. So with that, Brian, please begin in public session.
Sure. So the one position that we currently have out there is the public information officer. I interviewed them on Friday. There were some great candidates, narrowed it down. We're still going through the background check process, so I can't publicly announce it right now. There's no official offer that has been made yet, and we're still kind of negotiating, but hoping to get them on board as soon as possible. And if you want to talk about the candidate in a little further detail, I think e-session may be more appropriate just because of where we're at with the hiring process.
Okay, if there are further questions, and before we go to e-session, if it's necessary, I prefer to have a conversation in public session about the other issues as well. But you know, I would love, I know, Brian, that you are not making this recommendation in isolation, meaning that you've been in conversation with commissioners and other people. I don't know if the other commissioners want to comment at all about your supervisory role or what your feeling is about this recommended hire. Okay, it sounds like nobody has anything in mind. So Brian, anything you want to discuss in terms of, you know, fleshing out the organizational chart?
Sure, and I can give you a quick sorry, I'm trying to share it. Hi, sorry about that. It's not, sharing is not working. But I'll just quickly run through what the previous two commissions had, and then my idea for what our org chart might look like. So the 2001 commission, their executive director had an executive assistant, an executive administrative assistant, a receptionist, and a press secretary that were direct reports. And then they had an administrative officer, contract management specialist, GIS analyst, and demographer, and outreach coordinator that reported to the executive assistant. In 2011, they had a executive director, and the executive director and public information officer both reported to him. The deputy executive director oversaw the technology, executive assistant, and outreach representatives. So what I was thinking for our org chart would be the executive assistant would report to both the executive director and create a deputy director / public records manager. With that position, I think it would be a good mix of, at first, we aren't going to have a ton of public records requests or data to deal with. It's more setting up the system. But we are going to have to be focused on the public hearings and the meetings and making sure that we're adequately staffed. So if we do want to do 2 or 3 different meetings throughout the state in a day, that we have the ability to do so. So under the deputy, I would have a public information officer, a community outreach coordinator, and then the information technology officer. And that's the full-time staff that I would recommend.
So it sounds like, in addition to what we have already outstanding, the positions that you would recommend, and it sounds consistent with what legal counsel suggests, would be a, deputy director / public records expert who would handle the bulk of the logistical legal aspects of what we're doing. And it sounds like community outreach in addition to a PIO, which I think is very consistent with meeting our obligations to involving the state, and IT.
Yes.
And it sounds like, given, again, it's a crescendo with everything building all merging at the same point, that there's probably a time-sensitive nature of getting, job, openings up and out there.
There is, and even with the public information officer, we're still 2 to 3 weeks out from her or him officially being on board. And then I also think when we're talking through this technology piece, I know technology, but not that well. I'm not an IT specialist. So having someone on the team who can help build that system up, I think would be beneficial and would be a good next hire for us. I'm talking to the state's chief information officer later today, so I should be able to get a better grasp on what the state can provide for us and help us out with. But other than that, I think, yeah, like yesterday when I don't think anyone was expecting the apportionment numbers to come out yesterday. It was kind of a surprise. And I don't want to be caught off guard what if the census numbers do come in a little earlier. I think it's important to get the team up and going as quickly as possible so we're not surprised and we can get going if we get the information earlier than expected.
So what do you need from us, Brian? Positions that you're asking to post, and please suggest next steps, and we will entertain that.
Sure. Yeah. I think posting, I'll have to petition for the FTE positions, but then posting the 3 new positions would be the next step. And I don't know if I would put a time frame on it, like 2 weeks, or do it until filled, just so we can get the team up and going. So yeah, those 3 positions I think are an important next step. Yes, Commissioner Lerner.
So it would be helpful for me. Sorry, am I getting feedback? I'm not sure. You sent us, and I know it's you to present it. So the flow charts, the organizational charts from the past 2 commissions. I didn't see one for this, like how you're proposing it now. And it would be helpful. I know that some of these positions are needed, absolutely, and I don't want to hold you up, but I really don't have a good feel. Be needing for advertising. Would it be possible for you to provide us with an organizational chart as you would envision it, and then the job descriptions for each of the positions that you're talking about? Because you have to do that anyway prior to advertising, and I would like to see those before you actually get them out there. And perhaps we can all agree to review those and provide you with quick feedback, as we always want to get these things turned around. But I'm having a little bit of a hard time envisioning it because I know we saw the previous ones, but this flow chart, I know you were unable to present.
Sure. And that I've been working with HR, and I was hopeful to have the job descriptions completed by today's meeting. We just ran out of time. But I should have them today or tomorrow. I'd be surprised if I don't have them by the time the meeting's over. So I will get you that in the org chart as well.
And then if we have, I guess I'm wondering, are we approving all of these positions now, or because I'm a little bit concerned about approving them without having all that information in advance and having us have that discussion that we need that. I'm not sure of the next steps for that because I would like to see all of that information prior to just approving several new positions versus one or two that we've been talking about.
And I'll get descriptions this afternoon, hopefully, and more than happy to talk through it after that as well.
I just want to mention that I want us to be careful that we don't cause delay. We have a lot of work to do, and we are woefully understaffed. And the 3 positions that our executive director has identified, I'm not sure, no matter how much deliberation we do, I think they're fundamental. We're going to need a deputy director / public records person. We are going to need an IT person. And I would argue, and I mean, this I guess is open for debate. I would say we need community outreach person with just the volume of community outreach we're already getting. And so we can deliberate on all of it, but I'd like to at least be able to move forward with giving Brian authority to get going, with these hires, because if we don't, the quality of our product is going to be hampered, in my opinion.
And Chair Newberg, I'm not trying to prevent that, but I also want to make sure I'm understanding the full range of staffing that's going to be needed. Is this all of it? Are we going to be needing 2 or 3 more people later on? That's where I'd like to see the flow chart and get a handle from our director of what he believes his full needs are before we do sort of a one at a time kind of approach. That's what I'm asking to get a better.
With this is Commissioner York. With respect to Commissioner Newberg and Lerner, I agree with Commissioner Newberg to an extent. We did already have discussions around 2 of those positions, so maybe we give Brian the go ahead to start recruiting those jobs as he proceeds with job descriptions for the rest and the org chart, so we don't delay him, at least on technology and public records.
This is Vice Chair, at least I'd like to see the org chart. That way it outlines, it looks like our director had some time to put together the org charts for the last 2. And so he should be done with the proposed org chart. So if we could see that today, that'd be very beneficial.
That's also in some ways, though, our responsibility to give feedback to Brian. He shared with us the org charts from the first commission, the second commission. He's made a proposal for the org chart now. I know we visually don't have it. I know we all like things, up front to know. I'm not sure we know some of the more supplemental hires. Regardless of what ultimate org chart is presented, I think we're going to need these 3 positions, but what I'd like most is to find consensus with a way to expedite the process that everybody's comfortable with. So what do my fellow commissioners need to see? And then the council, are we allowed to move forward with post? If we don't publicly approve these positions today, regardless of what due diligence you do in the next week, we probably can't approve these positions till next week and then post. And then you hire them in 2 weeks, and then they give 2-week notice. I just want to let you know you're looking then at about 5 weeks from now.
Well, this is Vice Chair Watchman, at least the org chart, because I think it behooves us to put things in writing. Yes, it's recorded, but a picture says 1,000 words. And so in support of, and to add to what Commissioner Lerner is saying, at the very least, the org chart. I'd like to see that because, that way I understand, the public understands, kind of how we're thinking this through. And so my point is that, we had a nice executive director's report. And so some time was spent on, regurgitating that. So it seems like it's a 10-minute task to get to us, a proposed org chart. So I'll do it, to get it done so that we have something to approve. I'd like to have something in writing. It behooves us to do that too. Yes, we have to be expedient. Yes, we got a big chore ahead of us, but we also have to document for the record vis-a-vis, reports. I think it's in our best interest to do that. So.
And I just sent it to Yasmin to see if her sharing might work.
Yes, that would be so helpful. Thank you.
Sure.
Because can I ask the legal counsel while we're doing this, if we don't approve the posting of these positions, I don't, no matter what due diligence we do, that nothing can be done till next week. Am I correct?
Well, my view would be that it would be in your best interest to approve these positions before moving forward. So that means reviewing the organizational chart this meeting and then approving next meeting, or doing it all today. That's really up to the commission.
Okay, and while we have our counsel then responding, can I ask, is there concern about a delay about creating an IT team and a team that can handle public records? So we're balancing a lot of needs right now. What are the concerns about a delay in further staffing?
Well, I would revert back to some of the legal discussion that we had in executive session about the importance of these positions to some of the legal issues that we provided recommendations on in executive session. Don't want to go on to here, but I will reiterate that these positions are vital to get into place as soon as possible to ensure that we're in a position to be able to meet the demands of both the Census Department and the map consultant and everything else that's going to have to take place.
Okay, but with that, we have our technology. See, if we had an IT person, it would help, but we don't. But here's Yasmin as our IT person. Thank you, Yasmin. We have our proposed org chart. Brian, please.
Sure. So as you can see, I have the executive assistant would report to both the deputy and executive director. And then underneath them would be the IT officer, public information officer, and community outreach coordinator. It also, why I built it out like this was I thought we could, for the listening tour, we could break up into teams and try and hit 2 or 3 cities or places at once, or in one day. And so the PIO and deputy and IT could go to one spot, or community outreach and executive director and executive assistant could do another spot, and just kind of ping pong back and forth. But lean on each other's strengths. So kind of thought behind it.
This is Commissioner Lerner. Thank you. This is what we were hoping to see. So I appreciate that. So I can easily support moving forward immediately with the information technology officer and the public records manager. From my perspective, I'd like you to think through a little but a number of different ways, maybe bringing in some people at a part-time basis. That's the one I think I would like to just have you maybe think through and come back to us a little bit more detail about that particular position. But I could support the IT and public records immediately to move forward based on how you've described it and what we've been talking about in terms of our overall needs.
Great, thank you. Yeah, and I'm more than happy to share the job descriptions once I have them.
This is Commissioner Meal. I agree. I agree with Shireen, and I would therefore make a motion that we approve the position of Deputy Director, Public Records Manager, and the IT Officer for Brian to move forward and to post those two jobs, and ask him to circulate job descriptions to each of the commissioners for comment prior to posting the description, but for him to have the authority to move forward with that.
This is Commissioner Lerner. I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion? Do we need to clarify an end date of posting this job? Any further direction about time frame? Brian, I mean, I defer to you actually, if we can keep it open-ended, provided that we're not legally then, I mean, what if we find the ideal person early? Then how do we close it? I mean, so I love it being open-ended, but I don't want to hurt ourselves in the process.
Sure, and I think we're able to, I would want to double check with HR and legal, but that we could post it and have it until position is filled.
Okay, excellent. So with that, we have a motion to approve a Deputy Director / Public Records person and an IT staff member. Any further discussion? Oh, yes. Sure.
Just a quick question. Can you do a minimum with something like that? That say it's open a minimum of 2 weeks and then open fulfilled, or is there no minimum required?
I will find out. I don't know.
Okay, is that going to affect our motion? Do we give discretion for Brian to post it with a, broad authority regarding the end date?
My motion did give him broad authority, and we'll let them figure it out.
Okay, so do we need any clarification on that? Who seconded?
I did.
Commissioner Lerner seconded. Any further conversation? With that, we'll do a vote to approve the posting of two positions, a Deputy Director / Public Records, and IT position. Vice Chair Watchman.
Aye.
Commissioner Meal.
Aye.
Commissioner Lerner.
Aye.
Commissioner York.
Aye.
Commissioner Newberg is an aye. With that, 5-0, we will post those two positions, and Brian will come back to us to further discuss additional community outreach positions. With that, we will move to agenda item number 8, discussion and possible action on options for mapping consultants. We have two options laid out in the agenda. A, the scoring and evaluation of mapping consultant applicants, or B, the option for opportunity of offerers to provide clarification information. Right now, in essence, we could move forward with the ranking and decision-making process, or given the volume of public comments and the issues that are being raised, we can provide further opportunity for the offerers to clarify their positions. I'd say that there are two issues that we ought to be thinking about as we think about this. One is for us to do due diligence in making the best decision possible with mapping consultants. So if there is clarification we need, let's think about that. And the other is our responsibility to ensure that the procurement process is done with integrity and confidentiality. And with that, given, I think, the sensitivity of procurement and the decision that's ahead of us, I would suggest that the commission vote to go into executive session. And if somebody does so move, it will be for the purpose of obtaining legal advice pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A3, as well as of discussion or consideration of records exempt by law from public inspection, including the receipt and discussion of information or testimony that is specifically required to be maintained as confidential by state or federal law, ARS 38-431.03A2, pursuant to ARS 41.2534D, the content of proposals submitted under the state's request for proposal procurement process is confidential until contract award, so as to avoid disclosure of contents prejudicial to competing offers during the process of negotiation. I know that's a lot of legalese. With that, I will entertain a motion to go into executive session to get guidance from our attorneys on procurement and these legal questions.
Chairwoman Newberg, before you get that motion, I just want to make sure the motion also includes inviting technical matters from ADOA and the Attorney General's office into executive session to help provide that guidance.
Absolutely. The staff with procurement, as we've done, is necessary absolutely for this process. With that, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session.
This is Commissioner York. I still move the commission go into executive session.
Do I have a second?
Commissioner Lerner, I second.
Any further discussion? Vice Chair Watchman,
Aye.
Commissioner Meal,
Aye.
Commissioner Lerner,
Aye.
Commissioner York.
Aye.
Commissioner Newberg is an aye, and with that, we are going to go into executive session and with no estimated time of when we're going to come back. I apologize. Bye.
Well, see how this goes. The only comment is the procurement officer is a little problematic from my views. I mean, so we're gonna have to, to be
It looks like we have our legal counsel and our commissioners and our transcriptionist. And with that, we will get right back to our public meeting. We are still on agenda item number 8. Thank you for your patience while we were able to convene with our counsel. Based on, learning, our responsibilities and thinking through the options, we had 2 options. One was to move forward with the scoring and evaluation of the mapping firms we interviewed last week. Alternatively, we explored the possibility of offering the offerers, those who are applying, the opportunity to provide clarifying information based on the volume and intensity of public comments that we've received. It sounds like the best sweet spot for us may be to provide these firms an opportunity to respond to the complaints such that we can ensure we have a process of fairness and integrity with the firms, in addition to ensuring our ability to do due diligence and do our research. With that, one possible compromise and idea for us to consider that was raised would be for us to keep open public comments until Thursday, 5 p.m., at which we would close ourselves, the 5 commissioners, not the public, but just the 5 commissioners, to a blackout where we would not allow ourselves to see any additional public comment. We will provide and make available the public comments to the 3 firms that have submitted proposals, allow them to provide written clarification without the ability to alter their proposals, but provide a written clarification to the public comments by Monday, May, is that 3rd? I'm sorry, I'm looking at my dates here. Yes, May 3rd. And then for us to be able on May 4th to be able to move forward with all information available to us. So with that, I open it up to comments, thoughts of the commissioners, questions on your mind before we propose a motion. I'd like to catch the public up to speed. Okay, if nobody has comments, that means it feels collectively we felt that it was balancing the pros and cons. We'd like to give the firms an opportunity to clarify their positions and do due diligence and ensure that legally we're honoring the integrity of the procurement process. With that, I will entertain a motion to I guess, extend our exposure to public comments till Thursday at 5 p.m., at which point there would be a moratorium where the 5 of us would agree to not read or expose ourselves to public comments. The firms will be then given the opportunity at the close of public comment to respond to us through written format. We will have that on Monday And to be honest, I need to ask what time of day. We should clarify that.
I would suggest noon.
Brett, did you, I'm sorry, you kind of cut out.
Sorry, Eric wasn't doing his job. We recommended 8 a.m. We do think we appreciate the truncated process of, but that this is normal in procurement and legal matters about that short time frame. It gives them 3 calendar days to put together their clarification. And the reason being is that if it's received by 8 a.m., Yasmin needs the opportunity to collect all of those and get them out to the commissioners and allow you at least a 24-hour period to review those clarifications before coming back to session.
I like that 8 a.m. deadline. I believe all the firms are, that their eyes are watching, that they're already involved, and they'll be able to honor this timeline. And with all due respect, it gives us the time to read and study and do what we need to do so that by Tuesday's meeting, we have what we need, you know, in our hands.
So, Madam Chair, this is Vice Chair Watchman. I so move with a motion, basically with what you indicated.
Do we have a second? Any further discussion? Okay, with that, we're making a motion.
We don't have a discussion point,
There's a
Mr. Newberg. I'd like to add that we follow the recommendations of agenda item 8B also to the motion.
Yes.
The motion was around the time frame, but that's what we're doing.
Exactly. We are approving item 8B, the opportunity for the 3 mapping firms to have access to public comments, which are matter of public records anyway, on a.m. on Monday, for the commissioners to have 24 hours to review in advance of our meeting on Tuesday.
Correct.
So
That's my motion, Madam Chair.
And who's seconding?
Commissioner York.
Any further discussion? Okay, Vice Chair Watchman,
Aye.
Commissioner Meal,
Aye.
Commissioner Lerner. Aye. Commissioner York.
Aye.
Commissioner Newberg is an aye, and with that, the motion passes. And we will move on to agenda item number 9, open meeting law training and discussion. This is an incredibly important topic. Open meeting laws tend to be, you know, the area in which commissions like ours get in trouble. I want to suggest that the commission go into executive session, which will not be open to the public for the purpose of obtaining legal advice with respect to open meeting law compliance pursuant ARS 38-431.03A3. I understand, again, there will be a frustration with the executive session.
Yeah.
The intent of this is to provide us to have that attorney-client opportunity to understand the boundaries and to ask the sensitive questions, and for us to collectively come back and report on that and literally memorialize or come to agreement with what our collective understanding of the open meeting law is and what we agree to comply to. Given, again, the sensitivity and the importance of this, I think that we would be well served to take advantage of the opportunity to consult with our attorneys in executive session.
And real quick, Chairwoman Newberg, if I may, I just want to make sure that it's clear that for this portion, we do not need the procurement officer and Jessica Klein, and that they can be released from this meeting.
We'll miss them. Okay, anything else? Do I have a
This is
motion?
Commissioner York. I'd like to motion that we go into executive session.
Do I have a second?
Commissioner Lerner, I second that motion.
Any further discussion? Okay, with that, Vice Chair Watchman,
Aye.
Commissioner Meal,
Aye.
Commissioner Lerner,
Aye.
Commissioner York,
Aye.
Commissioner Newberg is an aye, and with that, I do expect this to be, you know, what do we say? I'm at no time frame, but it'll be lengthy, maybe an hour. Up until Commissioner Vice Chair Watchman's recess. Anyway, all right, we'll see you in executive session. Thank you.
All right.
Pressure's on, Dennis.
This is it.
That's it.
Sorry for dropping off there, Erica. I need to stand at some point, so that's what I was raising the desk up and down and get disconnected.
It's hard sitting so many hours.
Well, just listening to one guy talk for an hour, it's nothing against Brian's presentation. It's just
Yeah, no, I get it. Well, it's what I've done for a living as a psychologist. I sit all day.
yeah,
So
exactly.
it's actually one of the most difficult aspects of my career. Okay, we have our commissioners, we have our transcriptionist, maybe, kind of there. I see Angela and Brian. I want to wait. You're there. Okay. With that, I think we can reconvene our public session. Thank you for everybody's patience. We were discussing agenda item number 9 in executive session. We had the opportunity to receive advanced training from our legal counsel on open meeting laws. The good news is the public, everything you missed, you will get to see hopefully next week. It was a thorough presentation of the nuances of the requirements. Our counsel is going to come back and present a synthesis of what we collectively have is comfortable and legally sound with regard to open meeting, and we will present that to the commission and to the public next week. And with that, unless there's any further clarification from our council or commission members, we will move to agenda item number 10, discussion and possible action on census data and delay and ways to mitigate its disruption. Yes, please.
Just at some point, I don't know if this is possible or not, can we return to item number 8 for clarification on a point that I thought about while we were having our previous meeting? While we were in executive session, something occurred to me.
Is that something that relates to private legal counsel that we need to return to executive session for?
No, it's just for clarification. It is not.
Okay, we have the authority to move back and forth to agenda items. So let's revert back to agenda item number 8. Commissioner Lerner, please.
So what occurred to me as we were in our, is that maybe we can just share with the public exactly the process that they need to follow for item B, 8B. What happens? Are there, there's going to be a public comment period that we have. If people already have submitted public comments, should they resubmit public comments? Should they be, I guess it's just a clarification on how, with the public comment portal remaining open, I'm just wanting to make sure it's clear on if people have submitted, do they submit now, between now and Thursday? Do they, or will all of those be compiled for the past week or so?
Right. I mean, you know, my understanding, I mean, it's everybody's entitled to do what they would like to do. We have collected public comments. We will continue to receive them until 5 p.m. on Thursday. In terms of other legal questions, if they're allowed to submit multiple ones or how to sift through that, I defer to our legal counsel.
Continue. Right, just for clarification. So the offers, the 3 offers will receive an email from the procurement officer from ADSPO, and who will lay out kind of what the requirements are are in regard to the public can continue to make comments as they choose. If for any reason, if somebody wants to repeat their comments, obviously that's allowed. The public comment on the website will continue even past Thursday. What we want to make sure everybody understands is that past 5 o'clock on Thursday, those comments will not be provided to the commissioners for review as they are normally done, I understand from Yasmin, on a daily basis. Okay, so but if a person from the public wants to come on at 5:05 and make a public comment, that will still be posted. The commissioners will just not receive that until after the evaluation process and after the mapping consultant is chosen. At that time, everybody will receive that. And that also provides an opportunity for what we call a blackout period between 5 o'clock on Thursday through the evaluation process, and allows the offerer on Monday at 8 a.m. to provide a clarification as to whatever they want, but they're not able to change their offer for consideration by the commission during the evaluation process according to the evaluation criteria. But as always, encourage the public to comment as much as possible, but because we have a hybrid meeting law issue as well as procurement issue, we want to make sure that we are meeting our obligations underneath the procurement code and going into that blackout period.
Thank you. That helps me too. Thank you. That was all I needed, Chair Newberg. Thank you.
Yeah, excellent clarification. Okay, with that, agenda item number 10, the issue of census data delay and ways to mitigate its disruption. I have nothing to report. Anything from my colleagues? Okay, with that, we'll move to agenda item number 11, update, discussion, and possible action on Guzman complaint provided by legal counsel, including written response to the investigation inquiry. The commission may vote to go into executive session. If we do, I will give that rationale. But to update the public and commission, when our attorneys were doing their due diligence to finalize the Howard complaints, we did discover that there was a third complaint by Ms. Guzman. It was filed on March 26th. It was dismissed on April 13th. The complaint alleged that the AIRC violated open meeting laws and the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution by appointing Brian Schmidt as our executive director. And in essence, it was questioning the justification for going into executive session. The dismissal clarified that the complainant failed to state a claim upon which an open meeting law violation occurred, and it in essence was more about expressing frustration with the hire. With that, in addition to notifying everybody about this complaint and its dismissal, I think it might be helpful for us to think about posting these complaints online along with the legal disposition of it, both for transparency purposes, so everybody can be aware of these kinds of complaints. I think it's also an educational tool for understanding open meeting law and the rationale for going into executive session. We're under a lot of scrutiny as our public is thinking about our responsibility and whether or not they feel that we're violating a law. They could go to these complaints that have already been adjudicated, look through the rationale and reasoning, and determine upon themselves whether or not the time investment makes sense. And so with that, I open it up to questions about the complaint, about the dismissal, and about a policy of posting the complaints, redacting any, I mean, the complaints are public record, the names are public. But we would go above and beyond to redact any kind of identifying address or anything that would be problematic for the complainant. We're usually not this quiet. Nobody has an opinion. I mean, so generally, I mean, do you think it's a good thing? Does anybody have a problem with posting it online? Does anybody have a question of legal counsel with pros, cons, if it can get us into any hot water? I don't know if legal actually wants to chime in while we're in public session, just if you have thoughts about this.
This is Commissioner Lerner. I'm fine with posting it online. I think that way people are aware of what's going on. I think it's a great idea. And
I think this is Commissioner York. I think that we can only do that once the complaint's been settled, though.
It has been. It's been dismissed.
No, I understand that, but in the future, if there's future complaints.
that's what I was thinking as well.
If there's no further discussion or questions, if somebody would like to entertain a motion to post the complaints and the adjudication, the response from the attorneys online, I will entertain that motion.
This is Commissioner Lerner. I move, so move.
Okay, do I have a second?
This is Commissioner York. I second.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, we'll do a vote to post the complaints and the responses online. Vice Chair Watchman?
Aye.
Commissioner Meal?
Aye.
Commissioner Lerner?
Aye.
Commissioner York?
Aye.
Commissioner Newberg is an aye, and with that, the motion passes. We will now move to agenda item number 12, discussion of future agenda item requests. In addition to what has already been brought up today and referenced as a topic that we need to continue to debate and discuss, are there any other agenda items that anybody would like to propose? Okay, as always, if in the next 48 hours, we'd like to get these agendas up, earlier before the deadline, sometime on Thursday, please feel free to share. With that, we will move to agenda item number 13, discussion and possible action on the scheduling of future meetings. I think there are two items here. Number A is just travel schedule. If there's anything that Brian has in mind, I know we're building a team and we're waiting a little bit on IT and our public information officer to truly flesh out a broader travel schedule. But in addition to that, I would also like to bring up May 11th. We convene every Tuesday. On May 11th, I believe that Commissioner York has a hard stop at 1 p.m. We are in the midst of, I think, just, a lot of work coming up, and it's possible that we may need, and I don't know if we need to do a recess from noon to 1. So it's possible we would only have 3 hours to do work that morning. Yes.
This is Yasmin. I believe it's 11 a.m. Is that not the case, Commissioner York? I think I read 11 a.m. instead of 1 p.m.
Well, this is Commissioner York. I mean, our meetings originally were scheduled from 9 to 12. I depart to go out of town at 1 o'clock. I can go all the way to 1 o'clock on the 11th.
Thank you for clarifying.
Okay, so and with sometimes needing a recess at noon, I think that we can reliably count on the 9 to noon hour on the 11th. My question is, I'm concerned there may be additional business that week. And if we don't plan for it now, it's very difficult to make happen, both with our schedules and getting the 48-hour notice with agenda items. Do we want to look at our schedules for a possible backup in case we have urgent on that week? And it's also possible, I know that we're in the midst of some legal training. You know, we could even earmark, you know, if we're doing an additional day, you know, potentially loading some of the training on that day. I just want to make sure we're giving ourselves option to not cause any unintentional delays. And so I'm really asking commissioners and legal counsel, Brian, Yasmin, I mean, our entire team.
The only other day that week I have available is Monday.
You're not available on the 13th or 14th, the Thursday or Friday.
No, I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay, but you are available on Monday, the 10th. Okay.
And I am not available on Monday, the 10th.
Okay. Well, this makes it easy.
And I have not sent this in yet because it was a little bit in advance, but I may have a similar hard stop on May 18th.
Okay.
And so I do want to, maybe we can figure out, if we can figure out an alternative day that week, it's enough time, maybe where if we need an extra time for a couple of hours, but I do want to mention that.
And what time on the 18th, Commissioner Lerner, is your hard stop?
I can do the 3 hours.
Okay, your hard stop is at noon.
Yeah.
Okay. My suggestion with this is maybe you know, Brian reaches out to commissioners and attorneys and staff, and we flesh out. I do think within those 2 weeks, having that very narrow opportunity on Tuesday, that's going to present a challenge to us. And I do think we're going to have to find an additional day.
Should we look at starting at 8:30 on those 2 Tuesdays?
I could easily do that.
We could also add a day the week of the 4th.
I'm amenable to that. Report back to you next week when we can really think through our agendas multiple weeks out. I'm just not sure that the 3.5 hour block 2 weeks in a row, while we're hiring a broad team, is just going to be, and while we're still receiving training, is going to be sufficient time.
So Chair Newberg, would Brian maybe send out a doodle to the commission over that 2 week period? Whatever you use, Brian, it's what I use. I don't know. Whatever tool you use.
Doodle works.
And then we could see over those next 2 weeks when we might fit in some other time.
Sure, I'll get that out.
And I would like to point out that since we're taping these trainings, that if only one of us is going to be gone, then they can still commit to reviewing those trainings separately, and we could still be moving on.
I think that's a great point, Commissioner Meal, that, you know, if at the end of, you know, that May 11th week, Commissioner York is the only one gone, if we could tape the training and find a way to maximize our time, we'll look into this between now and next Tuesday.
Madam Chairwoman, just as you guys are considering changing the meeting times, I would not worry about legal counsel in that. We will adjust to whatever you guys decide to do that works for the commissioners. So you don't need to worry about us.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so as of now, we can count on our meeting next week, May 4th, 9 o'clock as usual. And we will come back to you next week with our proposal for additional time and fleshing out those dates. Anything else on future meetings? With that, we'll move to agenda item number 14, which we just did, the announcement of our next meeting date, next Tuesday, May 4th, 9 a.m. Agenda item number 15, closing of public comments. Please note, members of the commission may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38-431.01H, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date. With that, a reminder, as of 5 p.m. on Thursday, the commissioners will have a blackout to public comment as it relates to the mapping firms. And with that, we'll move to adjournment, item number 16. I will entertain a motion to adjourn if there are no other issues to bring up.
Chair Newberg?
Yes.
Did I understand that next week we have our new the assistant coming in? Does this mean that this is Yasmin's last day with us? Or was Yasmin, will you be here next week?
I'll probably sit in with her just to kind of guide her on how to do this streaming. So you'll still see me.
Okay, great, thank you. I just wanted to check. Thank you.
I think Yasmin's with us to the end, right?
No.
No?
No.
To the end of today or next meeting.
I'm not sure. We're going to have to talk about this one. But thank you, Commissioner Lerner. Yeah, that's, she'll be on the spot next week.
Yeah. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn, Madam Chair.
Okay, motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, Vice Chair Watchman.
Aye.
I confess that.
We did. I just did that, but that's
Right,
okay because
sorry.
I forget all the time whether I vote for executive session. So, we're voting to adjourn. Vice Chair Watchman was an aye. Commissioner Meal.
Aye.
Commissioner Lerner.
Aye.
Commissioner York.
Aye.
Commissioner Newberg is an aye. And with that, we adjourn this meeting. Thank you so much for everybody's partnership, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
So long.
Take care, everybody.